Good morning, everyone. Could you please be seated? Welcome to the July 17th meeting of the Rotary Club of Daniel Island, proud member of District 7770. I'm Chip Law, and I'm privileged to be this year's president. Today, we'll be getting some updates from our Henry L. White scholars, and our distinguished speaker is the president of the University of South Carolina, Michael Amaridis. George Roberts will lead us in the invocation and pledge. Please rise.
Thank you, Chip. And the 2-minute notice, where we go. So let us pray. Kind and Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessings this morning, your guidance, your wisdom. Look over our club. Help us to make our little patch of the world a better place. Look over our country, our leaders. Please share your love, guidance, and wisdom as we come together as one nation to again, hopefully make this world and the lives of so many more much better in these days. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're currently passing out the cart buckets. That's Rotary's way of putting in a few dollars. Started out with change, but inflation has taken up to, we'd like to see a few dollars to help with original Alzheimer's research, something hopefully the younger people here will never even have to think about. Bill Theophil, do we have any guests? And they'll get introduced. So it's just yes.
Yeah, okay. Good morning, everyone. We're fortunate to have some guests today. Amanda Wagner is going to set the record here for having the most guests at any meeting ever. And you can kind of just introduce them. That would be good.
Good morning, everyone. All of our scholarship recipients are here this morning, so I'm really excited to have Savannah, Robert, Kendra, and Bryce here. Bryce also has his family with him, which is really exciting to show support. And yeah, we're really excited to have everybody here.
Very good. We'll be hearing more for them a little bit later. Mary Jo, you have a guest as well.
That's all right. I know you think I need it. I don't think I need it. But anyway, Brooke actually reached out through my Rotary. This is the very first guest we've ever gotten Rotary. So let's get a round of applause for the system.
Hi, my name is Brooke. I'm born and raised in Charleston. I'm a real estate agent, and I'm just excited to be here. So yeah.
Welcome.
And we also have another guest who is snuck in and I didn't. Ben, next to you.
Morning, I'm Sean McCall, and I was very excited to come in here. Sean McCall, Trusted Business Advisors, and I was very excited to come and hear the speaker this morning.
Very good. And I think that's all. For those of you who don't get enough to eat this morning, today is National Hot Dog Day. So after this, go out and get a hot dog.
So Bill told you that we've got the scholars here. Now we want the scholars one by one to get up and tell you a bit about themselves and how they've been taking advantage of their scholarship. Amanda, would you introduce your school class?
Good morning again, everyone. I'm really excited to have our scholars here, even though a couple may be a little bit nervous, but our junior and senior here, Savannah and Kendra, can tell them there's nothing to worry about. It's a friendly crew. But I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. For me, this is like my Super Bowl of Rotary today because we get to kind of work behind the scenes and meet some really amazing students. And we got to do that this year in partnership with Ben and Jim. We went to Philip Simmons and met some great students. I think we had 5 students apply for the scholarship this year. And our recipients are here, Robert and Bryce. In addition to that, we have our junior from Flagler College, Savannah, and Kendra from Clemson. And again, I just want to, yes, give everybody a round of applause. They deserve it. And I don't see Faith White here today, but I do want to just acknowledge her. Because of her and her late husband, Henry White, we have this scholarship, and it gives these students an opportunity to go to school and maybe not have to worry about the burden of tuition just as much. So I just wanted to, again, give a little bit of a round of applause and acknowledgement to Faith. Yeah. And then finally, my mentor here, Chip, helped me this year quite a bit, teaching me the ropes as a scholarship chair. So thank you, Chip. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I do want to say we'll start today with Kendra. Kendra is a senior at Clemson. She's actually finishing a little bit early, so she's doing some classes right now as well. But we're excited to have Kendra here.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? My name is Kendra. I'm at Clemson right now. I'm an upcoming senior. I wanted to thank you guys, the Rotary Club, and especially Mrs. White. I wish she could be here today, for this opportunity and giving me an option to get a higher education. While at Clemson, I have been a consistent member of the Rotaract Club. I was the social chair my sophomore year, but this past year, I unfortunately had to step down to focus on work and school. But I've been able to consistently go to meetings, work 30 hours a week, and maintain my A average. So that's been nice. Thank you. And yeah, I'm really excited for post-grad life. I graduate early in December, so come January, if anyone's hiring, I'm your girl. My major is criminal justice, but I can be whatever major you need me to be. So, yeah, I just want to thank all of you guys, and hopefully one day I can be a real life Daniel Island Rotary member. So, thank you.
Thanks, Kendra. All right, so next we have Savannah. Savannah is going to Flagler College. She's majoring in coastal environmental science and minoring in biology and Spanish. So we have another great young lady here to speak.
Hi, y'all. Good morning. How are we doing today? All right, good. I just wanted to say thank you so much for this opportunity. It has helped me further my education so much. I do pay for school by myself, so it does get a little hard sometimes, a little stressful. I do work throughout the full year, and I have a job in Florida now, and it's really nice. I'm looking to have an internship at the alligator farm. Sounds a little scary, but it's actually really cool. I promise. I'm really excited for this next semester. I'm getting really further into my major and really securing some of the stuff that I want to do. I'm taking a class like dolphin biology, which is going to be very interesting. I'm very excited to see what kind of opportunities I have this semester. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity. So thank you so much.
All right, now we have our incoming freshmen. First, we have Robert. Robert is going to Gaston College this year. I have been really impressed with his tenacity and grit. When I first met Robert, he didn't know where he was going. He didn't want to disclose it. He's kind of a big deal. He plays basketball and was looking at schools and what the best fit was for him. And he's been making us really proud. He has a great GPA and will have great success at Gaston. So Robert, come up and say hi.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Watson. Good morning, everyone. My name is Robert Watson. As she said, I am an upcoming freshman attending Gaston College, which is 20 minutes outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, technically located in Dallas, North Carolina. I will be majoring in mechanical engineering. Major in mechanical engineering. Not planning to stay at Gaston all 4 years. So once I be able to pick up some bigger offers in the basketball perspective, I will continue to finish my major at whatever school I land here. Next, I would like to say thank you guys so much for the scholarship and allowing me to continue my basketball dreams and my engineering dreams at college. And I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, you did great, Robert. Thank you so much. And then last but not least, our main guest today is the president of USC. We have an incoming freshman from USC coming up now. His name is Bryce Ellington, and we're excited to have him as well. So Bryce, come and say hi.
Morning, everybody. As you know, my name is Bryce Ellington. I am a rising freshman at the University of South Carolina. I am aware that my president's in the attendance, so I want to be on my A game. Set a good first impression. But first and foremost, I just like to thank everyone for being out this morning and giving me this opportunity. I like to thank Henry and Miss Wagner and his wife Faith for again giving me this opportunity and allowing me to use this scholarship to further my education. I will be like my friend Robert here, I will be majoring in mechanical engineering while all 4 years at the University of South Carolina. And I'm looking forward to my next 4 years. Once again, thank you everyone for coming out this morning and giving me this amazing opportunity.
So having two young men majoring in mechanical engineering is just really an incredible feat. And I wish you all the best and our young women as well. Much success as you continue on with your journey. Thank you all for having our scholarships here. And really, this is one of the biggest things that Rotary Club of Daniel Island does. It's one of our biggest grant making opportunities. And I'm just really proud to lead this group. And thank you again for having us this morning.
Bryce, you're a really good football player. You have plans to, that's right. You do everything. Are you going to compete as a varsity athlete at USC? There's a guy right here who might be able to have a little influence. What do you think? And other than that, you also have a really good radio voice. So, and something to keep in mind. I just want to provide a couple of thank yous to the following members: to Bill Stevens, Mary Jo Romeo, Mary Schroeder, Bill Theofil, and Bob Wood. These folks are going to be participating in our interview of our ambassadorial global scholar who currently is in Brazil studying to major in 3 different languages, as well as become someone who is involved with the peace movement relative to stopping gangs and organized crime. And you should see her resume. We've tried very often to try to get her to be a part of these meetings, and it's just logistically not possible. We'll still try over the next few months. Next few weeks, sorry. She's going to be competing for the scholarship on August 2nd and August 3rd. And give her some prayers. Hope that she can come through. We're really excited about the opportunity that she has. Her name is Adeline Rios. One other thing, just a reminder, Billy Bacon, she's not here, but she's turned over the reins of family of Rotary to Hannah Long Richardson. And when you have need to contact someone about a situation within the club, please make sure you go to Hannah first and she'll know what to do. And if you can't do that, then please contact me and we'll do what the right thing to help in that maybe difficult or maybe celebratory time of life. It's now time to have our guest speaker, and Michael will be introduced by our own Mr. Steve Slifer. Steve?
Well, good morning, everybody. With us this morning, as you know, is Michael Amaridis, and he is the president of the University of South Carolina. That's no surprise to anybody by now. You certainly know that. We've been working to make this happen for a year. I'm just looking back at the string of emails, and it started in September of last year, for Pete's sake. And if you'll recall, at that time, we were doing all these little Zoom presentations, and we thought it's perfect. University of South Carolina and Columbia, and we're here. It lends itself to a Zoom presentation. But Dr. Amiridis said, gee, I'd really like to come and meet with you guys in person. So we've been working on trying to make that happen, and it took a while, but here we are. We're finally got it together this morning. So thank him for making the trip down to visit us. The catalyst for asking him to speak was an article that appeared that he wrote in the Post and Courier in August of last year. And USC is working to develop a new sustainable energy hub, tech hub. And the idea is for academic institutions, government, the business community, the tech community to work together for a common purpose. And hopefully by improving energy transmission and storage, that somehow we can provide protection from severe weather events and malicious attacks, things of that sort. So that's kind of the idea. And I think it's modeled a little bit after tech hubs in Silicon Valley and Austin and Boston. And they have certainly demonstrated that this type of collaboration can produce startups that ostensibly can sort of change the world. So that's the hope. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Michael Amaridis.
Good morning, everyone. Well, it has been a while, right? We tried to set it up for almost a year, and I'm glad that finally it worked out and I'm here today. I had to make the decision, am I driving at 5 o'clock in the morning down to Charleston, or do I spend the night here? And I thought at the end, reason prevailed. And I said, okay, I'll come down and stay at Daniel Island. And it's the first time that I've been here. I've been in Charleston many times, and I've been over with the bridge towards Mount Pleasant and towards the Isle of Palms, but I had never stopped here. And I'm so glad that we did stop here last night and saw this community, which is really impressive. And it's a beautiful area. Starting to talk about the university and making some notes yesterday, came back to mind some advice from two journalists, very successful journalists. I had the opportunity and the privilege to work with Charles Bierbauer, who was the Dean of Journalism at USC when I was the Dean of Engineering and the Provost. And he was with CNN, and he was the European office chief there. And then when we went to Chicago for 7 years, I was the chancellor of the University of Illinois there for a period of 7 years. I met Bernard Shaw, and some of you may know the name. He was the anchor of CNN, and he did a lot of the presidential debates in the late 90s and early 2000s. Both of them told me the same thing. They said, when you are talking to a group, make sure that you put the headline at the beginning and the end. So at least they will remember the headliner. All right, so here's the headliner. Despite the turmoil in higher education, and there is a lot of turmoil these days, the University of South Carolina is thriving and is building momentum for the future. Let me qualify these statements. And let's talk a little bit about the first part first, the turmoil in higher education. We are in an environment right now in which higher education is losing the confidence of the public. We have seen in survey after survey the percentages falling down. I see a lot of you looking there. I'm wondering if there is a problem with me. Okay, so I look okay, right? In the screen. All right, that's great. You have to protect your president. If you see something strange there, right? Let me know. So we are in a period that the general public is losing its confidence in higher education. Survey after survey that comes out, and the numbers are below 50% right now. And it's not coming from one or the other part of the political spectrum. It's coming from the right and from the left, with different type of reasons and different percentages, but the trend is the same. There are many reasons for this. There are significant societal changes that we are experiencing the last 20 years. The expectations of the students and of the parents have changed significantly what is expected from us to do. And at the same time, higher education, because of its nature, because of its processes, is slow to react. And because we haven't reacted, the general public is becoming angry about it. And they're even questioning the return on investment. Does it worth to spend all of this money? Now, this is a very general statement. What all of this money is depends on where you go. Depends on the private institutions versus the public institutions, and depends from state to state. But that's a different story, because the general picture is this one. I have heard many times over the last few years about truck drivers and plumbers. If my son becomes a truck driver or my daughter will make more money than a graduate of the university. If my son or a daughter becomes a plumber, they will get more money than the university. Well, that may be true during the first 4 years than the students in the university, but every study that has come out, including a much more recent one from the Federal Bank of New York, shows the value. But people stay with their impressions and they ignore some of the data in many cases. And also, by the way, if you look at the projection of how many plumbers and how many truck drivers we want, very low for the next few years. And in fact, we are getting into a point that we may not need truck drivers anymore with AVs, with automated vehicles. But again, the general public believes something, and if they believe it, it becomes reality. At the same time that we face this situation here in the US, the need for a highly technical workforce is more critical than it has ever been in this country if we are going to maintain the leading position across the world in terms of technology and in terms of innovation. I came to the US in 1985. None of you guys were born, so it's ancient history for you. I came here in 1985, and I came here because of the strength of the American universities in terms of research and technology. I'm an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer that came here exactly for this reason. At that time, the United States was running alone. Nobody could compete with them. I don't think this is the case today. And in fact, there are areas in which I think we're not at the front anymore. COVID made a very clear statement about this. Chips, semiconductors and chips. We are not at the front. We are 3 years, 2 to 3 years is what I have heard from 2 to 3 years behind Taiwan, and probably a year behind South Korea. And you saw what happened here when the supply chain stopped for a period of time. It affected everything that we were doing. This is the situation that we are in without technical backgrounds. Higher education is also experiencing pressure from demographics, especially in the Northeast and the Midwest. The number of high school graduates has been declining in this area. There's only one group, demographic group, that is increasing the numbers, and that's the Latino group. the Hispanics. Everybody else is declining in terms of number of high school graduates. And we see already some universities in this area shutting down. Small faith-based privates, primarily, that they cannot make the budget anymore. And then we have the cliff of 2026. Some of you may have never heard that term, but what happened in 2008 during the economic crisis that we had was a significant decrease in births in the country, 7 to 8% across the country because of the economic problem. And then the millennials decided, hey, we don't need kids, right? We're not going to replace it. And the rates remain the same. So 2 years from now, 2008, 2026, that's 18-year-olds. The number of high school graduates across the country in 2 years will go down 7%. That's going to be a big challenge for higher education as well. And that number, of course, varies from state to state. Texas always grows, so there's not a problem there. And there are, again, states in the Midwest and the Northeast that will compound the problem. This is the situation, and this is the turmoil of higher education, and you see it even in flagship universities. In the last year, we have heard from West Virginia that they're 30 million in deficit. We have heard from the University of Connecticut, 40 million in deficit, 40 million in deficit at Washington State. And the one that is incomprehensible to me, the University of Arizona last fall discovered that they have a deficit of 200 million per year. You can imagine what's happening to their presidents in these institutions. That's one thing. But also, they have significant challenges. The flagships are not going to shut down, but they're closing the doors in certain areas, and they're shutting down programs. These are the problems, and this is the turmoil that higher education is facing. Add all the demonstrations and the problems this spring, and that's where we are. Now, we don't have any problem at the University of South Carolina. In this environment, we continue to grow, first of all. Over the last 2 years that I'm here in South Carolina, we have seen a 25% increase in our freshman class. This year and last year, we're bringing 7,300 freshmen. They're the biggest classes that we ever had. Some of you who are graduates, probably you came in at a time that the freshman class was 2,000 or less, 7,300. And we are expecting that within the next couple of years, we will hit 40,000 as the total size of the university, which puts us among very few universities in the country. We are a national university. When you will come there in August, you will see that there are people from all over the country. 50% of our freshman class are not South Carolinians. They're coming primarily from the corridor in the East Coast, from Connecticut all the way to Georgia, and they come from the Midwest also. And in fact, we are working very hard to keep the 50-50 level, and we have different criteria for admission between the South Carolinians and the non-South Carolinians, the out-of-state students, because we are committed to the state. We take all the South Carolinians that we believe they can be successful in getting a degree, and then we fill the class with the out-of-state students. We named 2 of our colleges this year. This is a unique experience. It's a unique time in the history of the university when you give the name of a person to a college that is going to be there in perpetuity. We had 2 named colleges in our history, Darla Moore School of Business, and then the Arnold School of Public Health, that took place 20 years and beyond. 2 new ones in 1 year. Joe Rice, that named the School of Law, and Alex Molinaroli and the Molinaroli families, College of Engineering and Computing. Both of these 2 gentlemen have strong connections with Charleston. Joe Rice has been practicing here, has been living here for quite some time, and Alex Molinaroli actually grew in Charleston. His brothers still live here, and he's a graduate of the Bishop England High School, which I understand has moved now, and it's here on the island. They're smart people, and they're investing on strength. They're investing on the university because with their transformational gifts, they want to have in their professional areas the best colleges, not here in the South Carolina only, but across the East Coast. We are in a strong financial position. And the fact that we are in a strong financial position allows us to talk about access, but also affordability. We made a commitment last fall, which combines excellence and need. And the commitment that we made to South Carolinians was that if you are in the top 10% of your class, in your high school class, and if you're coming from a family with income of $80,000 and below, we will offer you free tuition and free fees. Think about it. 10% of your class, that's excellence, and a family of 80 and below, that's need. And we are accessible and we become affordable to these students, because sometimes accessibility without affordability is meaningless. And we had some fantastic numbers this year. We have an increase in fundraising. We have a great number in research awards. It's hard for me to believe it. We brought over 300 million in external research awards, which is a 20%, 25% increase of the highest that we ever had seen. That again shows the strength of the university. We can talk about academic initiatives. We can talk about healthcare and the role that we play in healthcare. I know that the Medical University of South Carolina is really loved in this area, but don't forget that the University of South Carolina in Columbia is the biggest producer of healthcare providers than anybody else, a big number across the state. We could talk about athletics if you want, but let's leave all of this for questions and answers, because I want to spend a little bit of time to focus on the effort that we are putting to assist the state and develop a new economic model that I strongly believe that we need. And I want to talk to you about what we have done along these areas. When I came to the state it was 1994, the first time, I started as an assistant professor here, and I was looking around and I started realizing what had happened, especially with engineering and manufacturing at that point, with the textiles. It was a strong base of the economy. And all of a sudden, when we lost part of the made in USA type of war and a lot of the textiles went outside of the country, a lot of areas of South Carolina actually paid the price. There was a remarkable effort by the state at that time with manufacturing, brought BMW, and BMW came here just a few years before I came here, and focusing on tourism as well. And we have done very well. I had two governors in Illinois that after I met with them a few times, one Republican, one Democrat, by the way, Pritzker and Rauner, and both of them asked me, what is South Carolina doing that they're doing well and they attract all the manufacturing there? And I gave them some answers about that and how it works. But it has been noted the success that the state had in manufacturing. But keep in mind the type of manufacturing that we do here is primarily assembly lines. And in a new environment that is building right now with AI and robotics, the number of positions that you will need in this type of manufacturing, the number of jobs will decline. And the type of jobs will change. So with this in mind, I really believe that it's time to consider going beyond assembly lines and beyond the type of manufacturing that we had. I think that we need to look at advanced manufacturing, and at the same time, we need to look at design centers, research centers, and startups, which are areas that give much better salaries to the people that they're involved and need a more advanced workforce in these areas. We have taken several initiatives to move in this direction and focusing first and foremost on workforce development, right? We started last year, in fact, it started almost a year and a half ago, an experiment, if you want, with our students, providing 4 interdisciplinary certificates. These are credentials, in essence, that every student can take 4 courses. And if you complete these 4 courses, in addition to your degree, the transcript is actually describing a certificate. These 4 certificates are focusing on the key needs of employers. There is a study done by Deloitte. Many of you may have heard Deloitte as a consulting firm, and Burning Glass, which is a non-profit organization. And both of them, they went through the Fortune 500 companies and they asked what the expectations are for the new employees. The top 4 areas was digital skills, data analytics, communications, and project management and people management. In every area, it doesn't make any difference what kind of background you have. This is what they need. This is what industry needs. This is what the corporations are did. And they're not happy with the universities because once that they hire them, they have to train them in this area. These are our 4 certificates. And we started them. By now, after a year, more than 500 students in the first year decided to start one or more of these certificates. So that's one example to adding on top of the degrees, adding skills that will help the students work out and find the best jobs, and at the same time will satisfy the needs of the local industry. Another critical component in terms of what kind of a job you will get and how you will get it has to do with internships. Most of the corporations hire first from the interns that they had and they have tested before they go out into the market. So together with the General Assembly and the Speaker of the House was very supportive of this, we started a pilot program 1 year ago, providing an incentive for our students who are going to take an internship in South Carolina, and at the same time, they are in one of the critical areas for South Carolina. The critical areas is manufacturing, is financial services, it's technology, it's healthcare, and so on. So the proviso that gave us the money covers what are the critical areas. If they do that, then we offer them an extra bonus of $3,000. And think about it, for a student that over the summer will spend 2 months in an internship, $3,000 is a big deal. 1,000 of them received this last year from us. And the General Assembly came back with another 3 million and said, I love it, keep going. And also helped us create a very strong alliance with the manufacturing alliance here. And I'm going to go to Boeing this morning after we finish from here, because one of their executives is the director of the alliance this year, or the president of the alliance, and gave us the opportunity to bring the manufacturing alliance together and give us the positions as well. The other interesting thing about these 1,000 students is that we put one request, and the request that we put to them was that you are not going to get the money until you complete a questionnaire that we have, and until your supervisor completes the questionnaire as well. So now we have a very rich database where we can analyze in several questions what were the deficiencies and what were the positive things for our students from their perspective and from their employer perspective. I can tell you one thing that surprised me is that in their majority, our students are not as confident as they should be, because they rate themselves more harshly than their employers do. With one exception, there's only one group, and these are the nurses. I think that the nurses are, thank you. I think that the nurses are very confident when we prepare them for some reason, but it was the only group that rated themselves better than their employers. So with this in mind, actually you can come back and we can adjust what we are doing, and we can provide more information and more skills than they are needed. I have lost track of all of my notes, but that's okay by now. Now, the third thing, and this is what Steve mentioned, is the effort that we have to create a new hub. We led the early stages of the South Carolina Nexus. Now, you probably have never heard about it, but after we finish, you may want to check. SC Nexus is the name of the group. In August of 2022, the Congress at that time passed the CHIPS and Science Act. This was an act that passed with bipartisan support. Senator Graham was one of 7 or 8 Republican senators that crossed the line and voted for in this case. And the idea there is the need to create more innovation areas in the country beyond Silicon Valley, beyond Austin, and beyond Boston, which are the 3 biggest ones that we know and we recognize. The idea there was that there is a lot of talent across the country. We need to focus in more areas than what Silicon Valley does and what Boston does with biomed and bio industries. And we need to utilize the talent that we have addressing key problems in critical areas. Again, what we saw during COVID-19 actually pushed this idea very quickly, and that's how it gained bipartisan support. But it goes beyond the chips, and that's why the battery, yeah. Is this a sign that I spoke too long? No, okay, all right. So the idea there is that we are going to go to other critical areas, and there was a number of them that they were pointed out by the federal government. And these areas actually were advanced energy, advanced materials, semiconductors, we talked about them, AI, and automation. These are the different areas that the federal government had an interest with and Congress had an interest with. When I first read about it in the fall of 22, I realized that we have a lot of what is needed here in South Carolina to go after one of these designations. So we started putting a group together. The first person that I called actually was Jim Clements. And Jim immediately jumped into it. He's the president of Clemson, right? And he immediately jumped into it. And within a week, we shake hands and we said, okay, we're going to work together on this one. And we went to the technical colleges. We went to SC State, the Savannah River National Lab, and we started putting corporate support together. But after the first couple of months, we realized that this is too big for one university or 2 universities to lead. We need the state to lead this effort. And when I first talked to Harry Lightsey, our Secretary of Commerce, the Director of Commerce, he felt a little bit uncomfortable out of his comfort zone because commerce here is playing the role of bringing new companies. This is a little bit different, right? But I was amazed, and it was a fantastic job that Harry did together with the Department of Commerce, bringing everyone together. And actually, we have the order of 50 corporations that they're focusing in the area that we chose. And the area that we chose, by the way, is energy, as you heard, because it's very critical for us to have a different model of energy across the country, but also here in South Carolina. So the federal program managed by the U.S. Department of Commerce and the Economic Development Administration identified the first thing that they wanted to know was who is interested in this, what are you going to do, and how strong you are. So the first round of proposals that we put together, which was in the fall of last year, was exactly this. Who is interested, and who will select a small number because they're ahead of everybody else. Our proposal came in with 300 proposals across the country, and the feds chose 31. Don't ask me why 31 and not 30. I suspect it has to do with some senator or somebody else, but that was the decision, that they had 31 of these hubs. We became one of the 31. So that's a 10% success. And we got this recognition as a science and innovation hub, a tech hub, as the feds designated us. Now, this designation allows us as a group, the SC Nexus, to compete for funding, direct funding from the federal governments in terms of technology innovations and projects in the state. It gives us the designation who will provide access to more international business, because the idea of these hubs is that they will design, they will manufacture, and they will export as well. And the designation will help accelerate high quality of job growth with workforce development. What happened immediately after 31 were recognized the Department of Commerce in Washington asked for proposals for the first round of funding. As you can imagine, 31 proposals were submitted in last February. And 3 weeks ago, and I was in Greece at that time, I got a phone call from the Secretary of Commerce, said, we got it. So we became one of, I believe there are 10 of the hubs that they got the first round of funding, which for us is between 50 and 60 million as a starting for the state. So this is a unique opportunity. If you look at these hubs, only 3 of them, 3 of the 31 are in the Southeast. It's us, it's Birmingham, Alabama, and it's Miami as well. Also, if you look across the country, who is dealing with energy? It is our hub. There is one that it has been given to Idaho because of the nuclear power there, one in upstate New York with batteries, and one in Louisiana for offshore wind. Our one is unique because we're very comprehensive. We didn't choose a specific area, but we looked at generation, distribution, and storage. Generation with small modular reactors, nuclear reactors, that they can give you small amounts and cover local problems. A smart grid, because that's one of the biggest problems that we face across the country with the grid, but smart, small grids that they connect with each other. And the third one is big utility type storage. I'm not talking about batteries that you put in your car. I'm talking about a battery that is the size of this building. So we can store, especially type of energy that we get because of solar, because of wind, or whatever else. We can store it and then use it at peak times. The way that the utilities are doing it right now is they pump water up if they have extra electricity, and then they bring it down through hydroelectric. This is one of the worst ways of store energy because you're losing significant percentage both ways, going up and coming down. So this is what, and I know I'm getting too technical, and I'm probably going to lose you after a while. This is what's happening with the Nexus. But the key here is these are examples. These are examples that the University of South Carolina, as the flagship of this state, is working with the state to develop the workforce that we need, and at the same time, change the economic development model here and advance the economic development model beyond manufacturing without sacrificing. Manufacturing is great, by the way, for us. It has worked very well. But looking forward 10, 20, 30 years from now. So when the next revolution comes in terms of AI and robotics, we are ready, and we are part of this revolution. I hope with all of this, we covered that the headliner, that despite the turmoil in higher education, and that's what I want you to remember, the University of South Carolina is thriving and is building momentum for the future. I'll be happy to answer your questions on everything that you want. There's a lot of things that we can talk, but I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Hey, thank you so much. My name is Michael Cole, South Carolina class of 1996. So glad to have you here. One of the things that I'm reading, Wall Street Journal, other publications, just kind of listening on podcasts, is one of the biggest challenges with new people entering the workforce is a lack of like social skill sets. I mean, they maybe come with the education, the knowledge, but they lack good communication skills. They lack self-accountability, other things like that. What is the university doing to kind of enable the graduates to have those basic skill sets to be successful in the workforce?
And you know, it has become even a bigger problem after COVID, and with a lot of the isolation that a lot of the students, both in high school, some of them in the formative years, even earlier, and some of them during college faced, and that create even more problems, right? What we do and what we're trying to help them, because you cannot provide courses in this case. You need more mentoring and you need more some support. It's through the Career Center that we have been enhancing now and working with them as we prepare them for interviews and as we prepare them for the internships. This is an interesting question that we have also put out in terms of the feedback that we get from the students and from the employees. And we have already tracked it and we've seen that, yes, there is a problem there and we're working on it. So it's done through the student affairs, not through academic, courses, and it's support that is provided and preparation for those who want it. You cannot, provide and help somebody if they don't want to be helped. But we try the best that we can to make sure that they are aware that this is important. We prepare them for interviews and we prepare them even for things going out for dinner, right, with somebody. And we even, for some of our students that they have other type of problems, we have also created a closet that there are all kinds of, that we get donations of, suits. All of my suits go there after I'm done, although I'm kind of a big size for a number of them. And we provide them even dressing to say, well, look, you need to look professional when you go and have an interview or have a dinner with a company that you're going to talk. Yes.
Yeah, a great presentation. I'm born and raised in South Carolina. Went to school at Clemson. I've got 2 kids at Clemson. You touched on this earlier, and I'd like to get your opinion. It seems like it's getting harder and harder for kids to get into, I'm going to lump Clemson and Carolina in there together. Not sure what the average ACT or SAT is right now, but the concern is, there's a lot of out-of-state kids coming to both Clemson and USC. I think you said your percentage was close to 50-50.
Correct.
I've been in the state my whole life almost, and I can tell you that our primary education isn't the best. Consistently we have been, in the bottom half of the country. So the concern is, as it gets harder and harder for these kids to get into Clemson and USC, the 2 prominent universities in South Carolina, what happens to these kids that they can't afford to go to that out-of-state college because they can't get into Clemson or USC?
Thank you. Thank you for the question, because that gives me the opportunity to give you some numbers and make a point that this is not happening at the University of South Carolina. We are accepting 75% of the applicants from the state. We're accepting a much smaller percentage from out of state. We take care of the South Carolinians first. And we don't accept 90% instead of 75, because in this area, the ones that they are in the bottom 25% of the applications, they have serious problems, and we don't want to get them in, put some debt on them, and then say, oh, it didn't work, go somewhere else. So we are very careful. Everybody that we believe, and we have very good algorithms, we have a very strong admissions group, that they have a good chance of graduating, we accept them. Now, we also offer, out of the 75, after the 75%, we offer to another 20% the opportunity to do a bridge program. Go to one of our 2-year campuses, go to one of our 4-year campuses, or even stay on campus, right? But have a special program for a year with the Midlands Tech that we have, and then you will be automatically admitted after a year if you meet the criteria. In this way, you don't have to spend the money. It's much less expensive to do that, and we guarantee you that you will come. So we do everything that we can to bring in the students that they have applied to us and they have a chance. Now, beyond that, there is a problem with K through 12. And there is a significant problem, because we see this in terms of numbers. When we look at the performance of the in-state versus out-of-state students in the first math course, because everybody has to take a first math course, right? And the percentage of the students that they take the first math course and they end up with either withdrawal or a D or an F, right? And you compare what percentage of the in-state and what percentage of out-state students are in this category, it's almost 4-1 in terms of percentages between the South Carolinians and between the out-of-state students. So we need to do something in K through 12. We are working with the Department of Education. The superintendent is in our board of trustees, and our College of Education is trying to make some changes. But that's a very big problem. It's a completely different game, and it depends on when you are at, which area of the state. If you are in the corridor of same along I-95, or if you are in some rural areas, it's a completely different game than it is in Columbia, in Greenville, or in Charleston. And what we made a statement about the 10%. We will accept and actually will provide free tuition and fees to everybody who is in the top 10%, regardless of the high school. Because if you don't have a good test, right, but you are in the top 10%, I believe in you. We're going to help you during the summer or work with you. But our capacity of doing something like this is limited. We can do this for a few hundred. We cannot do it for the entire population. So that's where we are. There was a question about free speech that somebody wanted to ask, but I don't know where is it coming from. All right.
Campus problems earlier this year, all related to, all related to free speech and academic freedom, and certainly like Harvard, for example, it's been spread around the country. And I was just wondering how the University of South Carolina is choosing to address this issue.
Well, we have adopted the Chicago Principles, the University of Chicago Principles, which is a very strong statement about freedom of speech. We will protect freedom of speech. We will not take a position as a university. And this is what our board has accepted as well. We did this last summer, and I know that Clemson University has done exactly the same thing. We are on the same line with this. Now, it's interesting. Freedom of speech is a very interesting idea because everybody wants it, unless they don't like what the other person is saying, right? And you can see it from both sides, right? You can see both sides of the political spectrum that, yes, freedom of speech, but if this person says this is not speech anymore, this is a threat. And that's where it becomes tricky. What's the difference between expressing, right, your opinion, and what's the difference between threatening somebody directly? That's the challenge that higher education is focusing. That's what you see, what is happening. Where do you draw the line is the question. We didn't have to draw the line at South Carolina because we didn't have any problems. We had a very good relationship between student affairs and the student groups, all student groups. They came into student affairs. We had agreements. We had the policies in place. I can tell you that we had a group that decided to try to put a camp, right? And they came in and they said outside of the Russell House, which is our student union, we're going to put some tents. We said, well, you can do that, but you can do it only during the day, and you cannot be covering them, raise them up because you want to be under, you don't want to be under the sun as you're demonstrating. Fine, you can have this, but we need to know what's in there. And they followed the directions. Then we said that, and our policy says that you cannot camp, and that's 10 years old, right? I didn't have anything to do with that. It was a previous administration that they said you cannot camp in the middle of the campus just because, for whatever reason. So we went to them and we also said our student affairs, not the police, the student affairs went in there and said, look, you will have to get out of here by 8:03 that evening. And what is 8:03 is because it said you cannot have a camp after sunset. So 8:03, you need to go. We're not going to go, we're going to stay. Right? Okay. 6:30, student affairs went again. I said, you know, you need to go. Or we're going to stay. 7:30, the police showed up. 3-4 officers that we had, not aggressive. Went, said, you know, if you don't come out at 8 o'clock, we will have to arrest you. 7:45, they said, we're gone. Right? And that was the end of it. So, but the reason that we didn't have the problems that others had was that, first of all, we didn't have people from outside coming in. They were all students. And they were students that they were always talking and trusting student affairs. That's why we didn't have the problems. It's the environment that we had created that they trust each other, and student affairs talks to them. We had a small incident in another case that we had 2 arrests, but then no charges were pressed. So I think we navigated fairly well. And I think that beyond that, it's the culture that helped us, that we didn't have any problems. Thank you.
We appreciate you coming here today and thank you for an incredibly informative presentation. And this is a token of our appreciation with some things from the Charleston area. And come back and see us again sometime soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we're jammed for time. I know 2 people here are very, very anxious to say a few words. So, Mary Jo? Also, we want to hear from Bill Green.
Okay, with regard to our nail bangers, we continue to do projects all over the upper area of Cainhoy, UG. It's oppressive. The weather has been so hot. We're going to disband for the summertime, but we've got one more project that we're finishing this Friday. We're moving furniture. We need 6 people to help do that. If you've got a truck or a trailer, it would be extremely useful to do that. Get in touch with me if you'd like to join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Quickly run through what we're headed for the next few weeks. Next week, we have Water Missions International. We're going to be touring the facility starting at 9, ending at 10:30. They'll be having coffee and some snacks. Please sign up on our website. We need to know and tell them approximately how many people will be showing up. Following week will be at Blackbaud. Monty Jenkins, who is a EMS deputy chief for Berkeley County, is going to talk to us about the civilian's role in situations where someone has a medical need. And then the week after that, we have Elias Deeb, who is the CEO of Charleston's Marine Manufacturing. Won't go into a lot of it, but it's similar to the retail side that we saw earlier in the year at the Navy Yard. I think it'll be an incredibly informative situation. The Rotary Club of Daniel Island's board meeting will occur the 23rd at the Daniel Island Real Estate Office Boardroom. People are welcome to come. And last thing, we're early for the International African American Museum Tour, but please go on the website and sign up. We still have some details about how to get the tickets for that, but it's important that you sign up because these are time tickets that we are in a slot for 10 until 11:30, and we want to make sure that we have a good representation from the group. This is an excellent opportunity to get a very close-up look at that incredible museum. We have time for happy dollars? No. Okay. Any other announcements? Okay, George Juka, would you please come forward and lead us in the four-way test? Okay. I would have talked somebody faster.
Okay, since today's theme was all about education, I think we should take a test. All right, the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? You all passed. Hey.